I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Andrew Jackson. There's quite a bit of history there. I know that Donald Trump admired the Jacksonian presidency so much that he rearranged the Oval Office and made the centerpiece a portrait of President Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was born in 1767 during the campaigns with the English, during what could only be really called as the birth of America. He lost both of his parents in the wars against the English and followed the troops down to South Carolina and was a soldier for all intents and purposes at 13 years old. He did develop into quite a soldier and led as his men went to what is now Tennessee, and then ran into Rachel Donelson and her family, and then founded Nashville and the Hermitage home in Tennessee with my great-great-great-great-grandmother. They were married in 1794, and shortly after their marriage, he was sent out to Florida for the, I guess you would call it, conquest of the Spanish. He was asked to go there to settle the state, basically driving the Spanish out and claiming it for the United States and bringing it into the United States. He left there roughly 1821, so we're talking about an intense 7 years of exploration and war, conquest, and when then he was done, he was asked from Tennessee in 1829 through 1837 to be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. He received that honor because of a lot of the things he did in the South, not the least of which was becoming the mayor of Florida and its leader as far as the federal government in Washington, D.C., and communicating the needs of Floridians and helping with the reconstruction of the newly freed state from the Spanish. And then coming back to Tennessee and founding the Democratic Party with the Southern Democratic values, such as the way of life, the independence, if you will, from the colonialist tax reform programs and things such as that. And a couple of the big issues that he faced were those, I guess you'd call it, separatist values from the English. He was in the wars with the English most of his life, truly hated them. I think that most of the issues that he had, including the Louisiana Purchase with the English, his negotiating days were behind him in the early teens, really. And so whenever he's seen Spanish or English in his life, he's seen them as opposition to the new America that was forming. A lot of times in history, they look back and they only see the highlights or the lowlights of a presidency, and his was filled because it seems as if that he was in charge of moving the boundaries of America all the way around the Gulf of Mexico. And when he married Rachel in 1794, it doesn't really seem like there was a lot of time. There was about a decade, but he was very busy in the state of Tennessee and taking care of other things government-wise for there to be a lot of marriage. But he did love her so. So much so that when she died in 1829, before he became president, he vowed to destroy Adams' campaigns because they had made such point to ridicule her as he ran for president, calling her things like homewrecker and other things because of the marriage that she had prior to Jackson with Roberts in Kentucky. And so he depicted a lot of his paraphernalia as he was running for president of Adams' teams being hung from trees. And they were quite gruesome, and he meant it. Some people even claim that after he became president, 3 of Adams' campaign advisors died to his hand. There is no doubt that Andrew Jackson was a very hostile man. And if you look at that time, I would say that most men were. I don't think that most of them were as dedicated as he was to seeing the United States become unified and seeing that this new territory was for America, ridding itself from the English, ridding itself from the Spanish, and ridding itself from the Native Americans. He's seen it as the people who came on the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria expanding the boundaries, something they were claiming, and he didn't make any bones about killing to do it. I would say Andrew Jackson, probably if you look back, was responsible for more deaths than maybe any general, with the exception of the generals of the world wars. He was a fierce man. And his life culminated on June 8th in 1845, and it finally came to an end just before the Civil War, which had been building from the time of his presidency, due to the separation of what you could really only call as the Scottish and Indian belief systems compared to the colonialist and the parliamentary style government with the taxation and the regulations that came with it, and the South wanting to become more independent, really, than the northeastern states were going to allow. I hope you enjoyed it. I like doing this, and it helps me